Hello there. My name's Walter. I'm 78 years old, and I've spent the last 2 years living in a nursing home here in the United States. If you're wondering whether it's as lonely, restrictive, and sometimes downright heartbreaking as people whisper it might be, well, I won't sugarcoat it. There are hidden challenges and deep regrets I wish I had known before walking through these doors. Yet, I don't want to scare you. Like many folks my age, I once believed the nursing home would be a safe haven, someplace with constant care, friendly faces, and plenty of time to relax. But reality, as I've discovered, can be very different from our expectations. I'm sharing my story for 2 reasons. First, to help those who are considering a similar path understand the potential pitfalls. And second, to remind you that it's never too late to pause, reconsider, and make choices that preserve both your dignity and your relationships. Today, I'm opening my heart about 7 lessons I've learned the hard way. Lessons that no one really tells you until it's too late. So stick around, stay with me until the end, and see if my regrets can help you or your loved ones make a better decision. If anything resonates, please comment below with the number 78. That's my age, so I'll know we're in this together. 1. The strange reality of constant rules. Moving into a nursing home, I thought I'd gain a sense of security, but I didn't anticipate the endless stream of regulations. You're told when to eat, when to sleep, and sometimes even when to socialize. That might not sound too bad. After all, I've been retired for more years than I can count, and I'm used to routine. But the issue here is the total lack of spontaneity. If you're the kind of person who enjoys reading past midnight or taking a walk whenever you please, you'll have to adjust to institutional schedules. I remember the first night I felt like going outside to enjoy the moonlight. It was around 10 p.m. My nurse said, "Walter, it's lights out in half an hour. You'll need to stay in your room." I was startled. I hadn't felt that restricted since high school curfew. This leads to a deeper problem, the slow erosion of personal identity. The consequences of constant rules aren't just about losing freedoms in a daily routine, it's about losing a sense of who you are. Over time, you might stop voicing your preferences. I was always proud of my independence, picking my own clothes, cooking meals, deciding what time I'd do the laundry. Now, these tiny decisions are made by someone else for my own good. It sounds small, but after months or years, it chips away at your spirit. I'd like to warn anyone who's considering a nursing home, question every rule. Ask yourself, am I willing to live my golden years by someone else's script? Because while some structure is helpful, especially if you have medical needs, rigid guidelines can be stifling. And if you don't prepare yourself mentally, you'll be caught off guard by how quickly your choices shrink. If you've felt that way or you worry you might feel that way, leave a comment with the number 11 for the month I first realized this issue, November. If you're in the position to decide, consider alternatives where you still have a bit more autonomy, like assisted living communities with flexible schedules or exploring in-home care solutions. Sometimes, an extra nurse at home can help you keep your own routine while still getting the support you need. It's crucial to talk these things over with family. Don't wait until move-in day. That's what I did. I assumed it would be fine, and I paid the price. Remember Mark Twain's old saying, age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. But trust me, when you lose the freedom to choose, suddenly it does matter. So before you sign those papers, think deeply about how much structure you can really handle. 2. The unexpected emotional roller coaster. When I arrived, I pictured a friendly community. Neighbors dropping by, staff popping in with warm smiles, maybe even group activities that brought us closer. For a while, I felt hopeful. In the first week, I remember meeting another resident, Louise, who loved to crochet. She gave me a small crocheted heart and said, "You can find small joys wherever you are." I held on to that thought. But as days wore on, I noticed a deeper emotional toll I'd never anticipated. The problem is that nursing homes house a lot of people grappling with both physical and emotional struggles. Some are dealing with the aftermath of a stroke. Others carry the heavy weight of dementia. Being surrounded by people in fragile states, especially if you're still fairly independent, can stir feelings of guilt, fear, and even anger. You start thinking, is this my future? Will I lose my mobility, my memory, my spark? That fear becomes a silent companion, making you question your own well-being every single day. The consequence is a roller coaster of emotions that can sneak up on you. One moment you're joking with a staff member and the next you're passing someone in the hallway who barely remembers who they are. It's heartbreaking. Personally, I became so anxious about my own cognitive health that any time I misplaced my glasses, I'd panic, thinking it was the first sign of dementia. The atmosphere can feed paranoia, sadness, and frustration in ways you never imagined. My warning is to prepare for an emotional transition that can be heavier than the physical one. Don't ignore your mental and emotional health. If you decide a nursing home is your best option, make sure to ask about counseling or emotional support programs. Many places offer group therapy or pastoral care. Lean on those resources and, if you can, encourage visits from family and friends more frequently than you think you need. If you have children or grandchildren, remind them gently but persistently that just 15 minutes of conversation can brighten your whole week. If that resonates with you, or if you believe emotional health is just as critical as physical health, drop a 15 in the comments. That little number can remind us of how small acts mean a lot. Also, consider how you'll maintain hobbies or passions that keep you engaged. Even something as simple as a crossword puzzle or a daily phone call to an old friend can anchor you. And if you find yourself battling fear, remember another quote I heard often: "We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing." Don't let a nursing home environment rob you of that playful spirit. Fight to keep it alive. 3. The pain of feeling forgotten. If there's one thing many of us here talk about, it's the crushing loneliness. Days can pass without a single visitor, and the nights grow longer when you feel like no one on the outside is thinking of you. I learned this the hard way. Before moving in, I assumed my children and grandchildren would swing by often. After all, I used to babysit their kids, attend their baseball games, and help them move into new homes. But once I settled here, visits became less frequent. Everyone got busy. The problem is that people outside may think you're well cared for, so the urgency to check in diminishes. "Oh, Grandpa's in a safe place. He has nurses around him," they say. That mindset can result in fewer phone calls, fewer visits, and a sense that your existence has slipped into the background of their daily lives. Nobody intends to make you feel forgotten, but it happens. And let me tell you, it stings worse than I ever expected. The consequence is a deep disappointment that can turn into bitterness if you're not careful. I had a neighbor who literally never had a single visitor for 3 months. You could see the heartbreak in his eyes. He started to withdraw from group activities, gave up on writing letters, and fell into a quiet despair. I've seen that cycle more times than I can count, and yes, I've felt it myself too. You can't help but wonder if everyone's just waiting on you to exit life's stage. My warning is to address the risk of isolation head-on. If you're considering a nursing home, set realistic expectations with your family and friends. Have a frank conversation before you move. Let them know how vital their presence is, and schedule visits if you must. That might feel awkward, but trust me, it's better than suffering in silence. If you agree, type 29 in the comments, symbolizing the 29 days I once went without a visit. Also, try to form meaningful bonds within the facility if you do end up there. I know that can be hard, especially when everyone seems to have their own health issues or personal baggage, but it's worth the effort. Even a simple gesture, like offering to watch the evening news together, can create small connections that help combat loneliness. Because once you're inside, it becomes painfully clear that human contact is the most precious gift of all. 4. The hidden financial strains. Money is a topic most folks like to avoid, especially older Americans who feel uneasy discussing finances, sometimes even with close family. Before I entered the nursing home, I thought Medicare or my insurance would cover most costs. But the reality? You often end up paying more out of pocket than you'd expect. The problem is that the advertised monthly rate doesn't include a lot of hidden fees, specialized care, certain therapies, transportation to off-site medical appointments, and sometimes even basic supplies. It adds up quickly, and if you're not prepared, it can drain your savings at lightning speed. The consequence is that financial worries can overshadow everything else. You might find yourself cutting corners on personal wants or even necessities. I've seen residents skip things like better quality hearing aids or physical therapy sessions because they're worried about the bill. That leads to a diminished quality of life, physically and emotionally. In my own case, I had to tap into my grandchildren's college gift fund because I underestimated how rapidly nursing home costs would bloom. It was one of the hardest decisions I ever made. I felt guilty, like I was robbing their future. I want to warn you, never assume the first price you hear is the final price. Ask for a complete breakdown of all fees before signing. Dig into the facility's policies on price increases. Some places raise their rates annually or charge more if your needs become more complex. If you're watching and you're concerned about this hidden pitfall, type 44 in the comments. That's the extra $44 a day I once had to pay for specialized wound care, which no one told me about until the bills started arriving. If you really are set on a nursing home, talk to a financial advisor, or at least a trusted family member who knows money management. You might explore long-term care insurance or Medicaid options, but do that research early. Don't go in blind like I did. Consider alternatives too. In-home care might seem expensive up front, but when you tally everything, it could be more cost-effective, especially if your needs aren't too extensive. I remember a wise quote from my father: "A penny saved is a penny earned, but a penny spent wisely is also an investment in peace of mind." That certainly applies here. Understanding your financial roadmap can save you from countless sleepless nights worrying about bills, and it might spare your loved ones a financial burden you never intended to leave them. 5. The challenge of health and care. One of the main reasons I came to a nursing home was for the professional healthcare support. I pictured doctors on standby, kind nurses who'd know my name and medical history by heart, and a place where I'd feel safe if something went wrong in the middle of the night. And yes, there are definitely skilled staff members here. Some of the nurses are absolute angels who have saved me more than once. However, the problem is that even the best staff can be overworked or understaffed. The consequence is that sometimes you don't get the prompt attention you might expect. On a busy night, if 5 people hit their call buttons all at once, guess what? You'll have to wait your turn. And when you're scared because your chest hurts or you've taken a bad fall, every minute of waiting feels like an eternity. Plus, if you're dealing with a complicated condition, you might get passed between different specialists. That can mean repetitive tests, conflicting advice, and a maze of medical bureaucracy that leaves you dizzier than before. I remember a particularly bad flu season when staff were stretched to their limits. One nurse, exhausted and juggling multiple patients, forgot to deliver my meal. It was an honest mistake, but it reminded me that even the most diligent worker can falter under pressure. If you believe proper health care is a core reason to consider a nursing home, but you understand how easily things can go awry, comment with 57 to represent the 57 minutes I once waited for someone to check on me after pressing the call button. My warning is this: if you or your loved ones think a nursing home automatically means top-notch, immediate care, think again. Ask about staff-to-patient ratios and how they handle emergencies. Request information on shift schedules. Do they bring in extra help during high-risk seasons like winter flu outbreaks? Confirm who's responsible for updating your medical records and how often. Don't assume that being surrounded by nurses equates to perfect health care. After all, a place can be qualified while also being stretched too thin. It's worth exploring the possibility of combining home care services with regular check-ins from a trusted doctor. Sometimes, smaller assisted living facilities or specialized memory care homes offer more personalized attention. Either way, do your homework, because, as I learned the hard way, medical care in a nursing home can be a double-edged sword. There's help available, but you're not always the first in line to get it. 6. The heartbreak of limited choices. Choice is a powerful word, especially for older folks who've spent their lives making daily decisions for themselves: what to eat for dinner, where to spend the weekend, which doctor to see. In a nursing home, many of these decisions get compressed, reduced, or taken away entirely. The problem is that everything from meal plans to medication schedules is streamlined for the sake of efficiency. You might think, great, less hassle for me, but the reality is that it can make you feel like your opinion no longer matters. The consequence is a slow but steady loss of self-determination. I'll never forget the day I asked for a vegetarian meal because my stomach wasn't feeling great. The kitchen staff said, "We only have 2 options tonight, chicken or fish." No big deal for a day or two, but after a while you begin to wonder if your preferences are irrelevant. And it's not just about food. Want to attend a certain local event or church service outside the facility? You might need to submit a request days in advance for transport or rely on a relative's schedule. If that relative's busy, you stay behind. If the facility can't accommodate you, well, tough luck. I warn you to think carefully about how much independence you can sacrifice. It's not merely about the big decisions like medical treatments, but also the small joys like being able to rearrange your living space or deciding to watch a movie late at night. If you felt the frustration of having your choices whittled down, do me a favor, type 101 in the comments. 101 is the number of times I swear I tried to request a different meal plan. Consider that there may be better alternatives. Some senior communities offer apartment-style living with optional services, letting you maintain a greater degree of personal choice. Or you might hire part-time help in your own home, ensuring you still decide on the rhythm of your day. If you do go the nursing home route, ask about how flexible they are with daily living options. Do they offer more than 2 meals? Are there weekend shuttles to local community centers or shopping areas? These might seem like small perks, but they add up to a sense of personal freedom that's incredibly important for staying mentally and emotionally healthy. Let me share a line I once heard. Freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. It must be demanded by the oppressed. Dramatic as that sounds, it applies in subtle ways to nursing home life. Keep that in mind when you evaluate your options. 7. The missed moments with family. I never thought I'd miss so many birthdays, anniversaries, and holiday gatherings. Before entering the nursing home, I was the grandpa who'd attend every barbecue, every 4th of July picnic, and at least 2 or 3 of my grandkids' sports events. Now, leaving the facility for the afternoon often requires advance notice, paperwork, and sometimes an available staff member or volunteer to accompany me. On top of that, my stamina isn't what it used to be. The problem is that a nursing home stay, especially if you don't drive or can't manage public transportation, can create a barrier between you and the outside world. The consequence is that your family life moves on without you. I distinctly remember my grandson's wedding last year. It was outdoors, and I struggled with the idea of traveling in a wheelchair for an hour. The nursing home staff tried to coordinate, but it became a logistical nightmare. Timing for medication, specialized transport, and the cost of hiring an aide to come along. In the end, I watched the ceremony via a video call. It broke my heart. A milestone moment slipped through my fingers, and that regret still stings. My warning is simple. Realize that every day in a nursing home may also be a day that separates you from family events. Think long and hard if you're ready for that. Are you truly prepared to face the possibility that your ability to attend cherished gatherings will be severely limited? If that question hits home, leave a 63 in the comments, a nod to the 63rd wedding anniversary of my close friend that he couldn't attend in person. If you do end up in a nursing home, strategize ways to stay connected with family. Teach them that consistent communication, like video chats, group texts, or phone calls, can help you feel involved. Encourage them to bring celebrations to you occasionally, small family dinners or birthday parties in the facility's common area. Some nursing homes are flexible about hosting private gatherings. Ask your family to plan ahead so you can be as much a part of these milestones as possible, whether in person or virtually. And never forget, it's okay to feel regret and longing. Those emotions remind you of the importance of family and shared time. At the same time, don't let regret consume you. As my mother used to say, regret is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it won't get you anywhere. Use any sadness you feel as motivation to push for the visits and the calls that keep you close to the people who matter most. If you've made it this far, thank you for hearing me out. My story isn't meant to paint nursing homes as purely negative. They can be a lifesaver if your medical needs are complicated or if you simply don't have the support system at home. But the key is understanding the trade-offs and going in with eyes wide open. Every regret I've shared, the loss of personal choices, the financial burden, the emotional toll, the sense of being forgotten, is an absolute guarantee. It's a possibility you should be prepared for. So here's the final lesson. Weigh your options, discuss them openly with your loved ones, and don't rush into a decision. If you see a parent or grandparent on the verge of moving into a nursing home, sit down and have a heart-to-heart. Talk about in-home care, visiting nurses, or a more flexible assisted living arrangement. Sometimes a smaller place with fewer residents can provide the personal touch that a larger institution struggles to offer. And if you do choose a nursing home, set up support systems. Family visits, video calls, personal hobbies, even small routines that keep a sense of independence alive. As a parting thought, remember this profound idea that's been a comfort to me. It's not the years in your life that count, it's the life in your years. A nursing home doesn't have to mean the end of everything you love, but it does require serious forethought. Please take a moment right now to comment on any part of my story that moved you. Hit the like button if you found value, and subscribe if you want more insights from a guy who's lived through a bit of everything. Above all, share this video with someone who might be on the fence about nursing home care. Because in the end, knowledge is the best way to ward off regret. And that's a lesson I'm passing on to you with all my heart.